Guess what one of the most effective ways to start a presentation is? Is it telling a joke? Is it coming out and doing a dance? Is it asking people questions? In fact, it's actually telling a story. One of the best ways to start a presentation is to tell the audience a story about something relevant to them right off the bat. This engages them, this makes them interested in what you have to say, and it makes you relatable. It makes you feel like someone they already know. But how do you actually tell a story that is actually going to be good for your audience, and why are stories so important? I want to dive a little bit more into that and tell you a few techniques as well that you can use to tell stories in presentations. The main reason why stories are such a powerful tool for presentations is because they make you, the presenter, more relatable to the people you're speaking to. It also makes whatever you're trying to teach them or tell them in the rest of your presentation a lot more easy to understand. Whenever we use analogies, stories, these elements, these tools help people to better understand what you're saying and relate it to themselves in their view of the world. This is also a great way to ensure that your audience will remember what you said, which is probably just as important as believing what you said and being persuaded. If they don't remember it, it's not going to help. And it's that emotional connection that stories tend to help build between you and the audience that makes you seem more persuasive. It's just like whenever we talk to friends, we tend to listen to what they have to say about something more so than a stranger telling us, more so than even the news or someone, because they're not someone that we necessarily connect with. But when it's our friends or someone that we trust, we are more persuaded by what they have to say simply because we have an emotional connection to them. But does this mean that you have to tell a story throughout your entire presentation? Does your entire presentation need to be a full, big, long story? No, that's not the case at all. What you want to do is you want to sprinkle stories here and there within the presentation, especially at the parts that you think are a little bit more difficult for people to understand or that maybe need a little more explanation, and a story is a better way to explain those things. So let's get into some ways that you can use stories and 5 different tips for how to tell stories in a presentation. Number 1, you have to know your audience. This is the most basic thing you have to know, is who you are speaking to and what kind of stories will be relevant to them. Number 2, you want to start with a clear and attention-grabbing introduction to your story. You can do this by asking a question such as, did you know? Have you ever? Don't you hate it when? Or you can also use a statement such as, I recently, or during the recent. These are great ways to start a story that lets people know you're just telling a story. You're not trying to sell them anything, you're not trying to persuade them, you're just telling a story. Number 3, use a clear and consistent storytelling structure. This is really simple: beginning, middle, and end. The beginning obviously is your introduction, the challenge, the problem that you're facing. The middle is, of course, what happens because of that, maybe your resolution, how you're coming to a solution. And of course, the conclusion is, of course, the conclusion, how things were resolved. You can start these by saying something like, when I was, or back when I was younger. The reason why is because most stories start at a specific period of time. They move through a specific period of time and then end at another specific period of time when something happens. So maybe someone starts out as A, they're maybe happy or they're sad or whatever emotional state they're in. They go through a change. By the end of the story, they're somebody different, or they've done something and accomplished something. So that is the basic structure you want to follow whenever telling a story in a presentation. Number 4, use descriptive and sensory language. This means you want to make things really clear. If something is blue, you don't want to say it's just blue. You want to say it was like the most shimmering blue emerald you've ever seen. It was bright, it was dazzling. You want to use language like that to make this story more interesting. Number 5, you want to practice your story. That's right, you want to practice. Because stories tend to take a little more time than just telling the facts, you want to make sure you have enough time to tell the story, get your message across, and still have enough time left over for the rest of your presentation. If you want to learn more about how to start a presentation, check out some of these other videos here.